Whew, that's a lot to take in. Can we slow down for a minute and breathe? What do we consider learning? And is that what's actually happening in schools? And if it is, to what degree? How do we create a fertile learning environment where creativity is the foundation that encourages and invites students to explore the unknown and helps them understand that who they are is not what they do? We are naturally creative. We're always creating, consciously or unconsciously, experiences and ideas and thought forms and beliefs. And anyone who's worked in public schools understands the value of preparing students to function in society. So academics are a given. Student self-esteem has a huge impact on their willingness and ability to learn. How can we help students become more reflective, less reactionary, and cultivate social skills that are needed to thrive in today's society? How can we help them understand that how they learn is not the same as who they are intrinsically? We're at an exciting threshold where neuroscientists, educational researchers, and behavioral scientists can begin to work collaboratively and share their ideas, help influence schools, and help students reach their potential. Scholars, scientists, and geniuses like Galileo, Newton, and Einstein remind us that all content areas are interrelated and interconnected. And so there really isn't a need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Art, music, math, reading, history, they all relate to one another. And when we start teaching from that related place, the learning becomes fertile, exciting, and amazingly magical. When I stop speaking, don't stop abruptly. Move into a nice closure, okay? What you need to do is just trust your intuition, because that's going to work best with this. This is the creative process. Music, to me, is magic. Music is the place where we can explore. We can explore the space between the space. We can use this to discover parts of us that we weren't even aware were there. During my internship through the Union Institute, I had the incredible opportunity to visit 2 developing countries, India and Peru. What I observed while I was there was seeing children on the street, earning a living, trying to survive day to day.
¿Cómo se llama otra vez?
My name is Luis.
This is Louis. Louis did my shoes, like new.
Ironically, the disparity of resources available between students in the U.S. and developing countries doesn't seem to have a sustaining impact on students' interest in learning, seen as disinterest, distraction, and disengagement in the learning process.
So the purpose of this video is to explore nonlinear constructs of learning. And why sound, rhythm, and music? Because sound, rhythm, and music are engaging. They invite the senses of the entire body into the process. They wake the body up, and they bring us to present time.
Like, I feel there's more than just 5 senses. Because if, like, there's a whole electromagnetic field, I feel like you could just not even, like, you can't see, hear, touch, or hear it or anything. You can just sense it in the back of your mind. It's like a bell, I guess, that it rings in your head.
When you're watching little ones, children, and they're so uninhibited, there aren't those censoring mechanisms in place yet. And they're spontaneous. They sing and chant and rhyme and make poetry and experiment and invent. The older I got, the more self-conscious I became and started to listening to all those outside messages that said you have to be less, not be so present or so big. I like I'm doing now, you know, I started to hear that manifest itself in the way I talked to people all the time.
At a school like this, I mean, not even everybody's going to go to college. Like a big percent's not going to go to college. So if you're going to high school and learning scholarly things, academic things, that's not practical. And kids that aren't into that stuff they're not gonna like it. They're not gonna want to go to class.
I'd praise if there were like well-paid $15 an hour manufacturing jobs that would make a livable wage, so that people who drop out could do that and not just be on welfare their entire lives. You know.
Oh, you can tell teachers that care and don't care. You can just tell. Kids can tell. It's not that hard to tell.
In chemistry, I know I don't pay attention, and I hate it because honestly, like, I don't see how I use it in like an everyday life. Like,
I think if the teacher loves their job and loves teaching kids and loves the subject they're teaching, the students are gonna like it more because that teacher's having fun with it.
I became intimidated, afraid to share my ideas and feelings.
European-based education tends to be largely didactic. This is changing, but the question of being given facts, especially the higher you go in education, then memorizing and regurgitating those facts, being able to identify what someone has told you this is, being able to write about what someone else told you, and as closely as possible, echoing their words and their perspective is regarded as significant learning.
There's something much more to learning than being able to regurgitate concepts that somebody has told you. And that concepts are always changing. Who we are is changing.
Our history or our philosophy or any kind of discussions are all interrelated. So by separating it into 50-minute blocks, and as soon as you're done with one, you move on to the other, I mean, your train of thought is just totally cut off.
What made that English class different than other classes?
She communicated with us, and like some teachers, they're like the students. They don't want to be there most of the time. A lot of teachers, they don't want to deal with children here because they feel like children are just like immature and stuff. Teachers that don't get upset or anything, they're just really like low key. They're really like calm about it. They're good at what they do, you know.
Like, I've gotten a 100 average in this class for both quarters out just because he makes it like fun. Like, I remember in global history, I hated global history last year because I did not like my teacher. She did not make it fun. She just sat there and talked and bored us all.
So learning can be fun. Yeah. Should learning be fun?
Assessments, I think that if you want to create a standard, that people should be able to solve problems. Instead of going into the theory of how things works and just concentrating on that, make it practical.
Like an insult that people would be boxed into a diagnosis given by somebody who mechanically was testing them. And that they would furthermore be treated as if that was who they were.
But on the native side, learning is experiential. So if you want to learn basket making, then would spend not just a class in basket making, but many seasons learning the things about the trees, the plants that go into making a basket. And then actually, when you had completed, rather than a degree or a diploma or a grade, you would have a finished basket and the ability to make more. So therefore, you go and you learn how to do something by doing it.
Who am I?
And music was the one thing that continued to allow me to express myself in a way that didn't feel like it had any limitations. Music is spontaneous, and I think it reaches us on so many different levels. We become immediately open to each other because we're not worried about articulating, like being smart or clear or right. It just happens. Music is a voice that I think transcends all those boundaries.
Where am I going? And how do I get there? When I was in school, no one told me I could do anything I wanted to do. I could be anything I wanted to be. 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 Yeah, that's the rhythm I want to get.
How do we identify ourselves? In the film One Giant Leap, Ram Dass says that we over-identify with the roles that we play. Our roles are constantly changing and shifting as our daily experiences change and shift. By learning to detach from these roles, we have the opportunity to learn and to experience in new and creative ways.
It takes tremendous discipline to be a free spirit.
I believe that we have a responsibility to our future generations and to our global community to learn about history from a variety of cultural perspectives. Music is a wonderful means of doing this.
Go to college to learn to make jewelry. It's like an oral tradition. So you go like an apprentice with a jeweler and with somebody who established, and that's how you learn.
And then you do it.
And so there is like a whole philosophy that is included in the process of learning the jewelry. So it's like a connection with the world, and most of the artisans travel a lot around also, so they're very multicultural, open-minded, peaceful people, and very nice. It's like a whole concept of being a jeweler and an artisan.